In this video, I hope to shed some light and some insight onto attachment in relationships and doing it in a way that can hopefully help us as an individual get in touch with what our actual philosophy is, what our beliefs are around who we are in a relationship, what the purpose of a relationship is, and what the purpose of our partner is, and what our partner actually is, whether they are male or female. Because you might think, oh, I don't have a philosophy, I don't have a belief system, I've never studied philosophy, I've never studied cosmology. But the fact of the matter is that you have all of those things, whether you consciously realize it or not, because a lot of it comes from obviously our life experience, our experience as a child, how we were conditioned to relate to giving and receiving love, and then societally, how we are conditioned to meet through media, music, movies, books, poetry, these kinds of things. These all have a large impact on really what we think and how we behave. Because a lot of these things are, especially if they're traumatic, or also especially if they're just healthy and fairly functional, it's in our nervous system. It's this basic functionality that was put there and was adapted. Really, we didn't really have much of a choice in it. So it's really important to have some understanding about this if you have some issue in that regard, and a lot of people don't. Because when it comes to attachment, or how you can bond with other people or have intimacy with other people, a decent chunk of the population has really no issue with that at all. They can attach and detach and go in and out of relationships completely fine. It's healthy, it's natural. They have really no issue and probably don't really need to watch this type of video unless they want to understand how the other half of the population functions, because some people believe it's about a sort of a 50-50 split, meaning half the population would be healthy or functional attachment, and the other half would be more on the dysfunctional side, meaning either avoidant or addictive or really insecure in some way. And I'm going to post links below the video to a few worksheets and other videos where you can explore these kinds of topics a bit more deeply. I don't really get on board with everything that these people are saying in the worksheets and the videos. They take it kind of to further extremes, but I'm pulling from some of their modeling, some of their theory, to say what I want to say. So first off, what is a relationship? I mean, that's a rather large question. And basically, I think that a lot of people approach relationship out of a lot of delusion and fantasy. And that can work if both people have the same delusion or the same fantasy, or they agree on that. But the issue is that a lot of times those things are unconscious because we think, all the shit from movies and Disney and media is actually real, but it's actually an exaggerated thing that someone made up to sell things to us and emotionally manipulate us and stimulate us in certain ways. So that's our mode of operation. That's something else. So we get to start off and say, okay, well, what is a relationship? Well, on one hand, it could be, and I drew a pretty horrible example as far as a picture, but it's like two people, two A and B, person, and in the middle there's like an area where they can choose to relate to each other or not. And then I drew all these like squiggly arrows and whatever to signify that there's fluidity, there's a dynamic thing where it's not just a static, like, oh, we have healthy boundaries, so we are always this. Well, that having that structure in place allows you to be fluid and dynamic, because it's like if you actually have integrity, if you actually have faith, or you have an understanding of something, then it's kind of like you have then more power and structure to do other things. For example, an extreme example of this is religious people who are really out to convert other people or save other people, or they're always afraid, or they're always talking about sin and evil and the world's going to shit and Jesus is going to come back, all these things. It's like, well, clearly they're not that secure in whatever it is they're telling themselves, because they're really bothered and afraid of what all these other things that are happening. Another example is, let's say you have $10 million in your net worth. You have to continually remind everyone of this. It's like, well, why don't you just like become comfortable with that and then be free and flexible to do many other things in your life instead of staying fixated on this one thing. And really, where a lot of the importance of this stuff arises is that a lot of our nervous systems are fixated and stuck in other times in our life. If we are not having necessarily a super functional kind of way of relating to relationships, because maybe we experienced some sort of trauma or some sort of negative experience at some point in our life, and our nervous system is probably still functioning as if it's that time. There's this constant low-grade nervousness or anxiety or fear or worry or insecurity that's in our nervous system. It's just always on the lookout for, either a need to demonstrate something or to be afraid of something. So anywho, getting back to what I just said there about that part of the either trauma or painful or fearful experience, we'll get into that in a bit later. But first, we could say, starting from healthy, it's like, okay, a relationship is a place to be me, share love, grow, relate, be seen, but also give all those things to other people, see who they are, share things, grow, relate to them, support them, have fun, have a good time, and then what other values that we agree upon as being mutually important. Could be our spiritual path is really important, or our careers are important, or our religion is important, or our fitness, or our health, or some other dynamic that we really relate to, and it's a driving force in our lives that we can kind of come together. Or maybe that's not there. Maybe one person has it, but the other person is say like, well, that's cool. I can really support you in that. It's not me. It's not what I do. It's not what I'm into, but I support you in that. But I have my own thing or whatever. So it could be a few different things. So that's kind of one really healthy and kind of idealistic, simple way of looking at it. The other side of it is another person could say, well, a relationship is duty and obligation, or a relationship is basically suffocating. Like, it's just this overwhelming place where it's like, why would I want to be intimate in a relationship with someone? Because it's just all of this suffocation and pressure and burden. So in one way, it could be, intimacy or relationship is control, it is duty, it is obligation. Another way of saying it is a relationship intimacy could be like rejection or abandonment. And this kind of goes back to ways in which we learn to, we were conditioned through relating to our caregivers in childhood. And this, on one hand, we could have healthy attachment, where our caregiver takes care of the child, also affirms the child, nurtures it, but also, sets limits. And it's, again, like I was showing, there's two healthy boundaries between the two people. And then another example where intimacy starts to be control, duty, or obligation is the caregiver uses the child to take care of themselves. So kind of really is a bit abusive, and it's not really seeing the child for who it is. It's not really respecting the child for who it is. It's not really respecting the caregiver for who it is. It's basically just saying, look, I created you. It's your job to do this. And if you don't do this, then I'm not going to love you, because this is your job to do this because of this and all these conditions that are set up. There's a real mindfuck altogether, but it's actually quite common because people are having kids. People are technically sexually and physically adults, but psychologically far from adults. And then the other side of the spectrum is basically the caregiver completely abandons the child. So that would be kind of neglect. And it's also rather abusive because it fails to basically provide for the child in the way that it needs, and the child doesn't really understand it because it's a child. So it creates basically this idea that, love or being close with people is really unsafe. It's really not a good thing to do because they're just going to fucking bail on you. Or going back, love is basically means you have to take care of everyone around you. You have to basically, their duty and obligation is what is maybe going to get you love. Probably not. Or there's the other hand where it's just a healthy, open cycle of exchange and growth and a place to just be who you are, but also have healthy, limits where you respect each other and you do these things. So those are basic kind of formats, basic kind of programs which are quite common. And they can relate to specific issues where on one hand someone is kind of a love addict, where their greatest, their whole idea is like, well, I am worthless in relationship to my partner. I need to be taken care of. I can't survive alone. Or if I don't get close enough relationally, like immediately, as soon as possible, then something bad's going to happen to me. The other side of it is that, great fear comes from basically being close to someone. So in another way is saying, oh, well, my sense of value comes from taking care of other people, or my job relationally is to take care of other people. And if I don't take care of other people, then I'll feel guilty. And my whole idea of being in a relationship is that it's going to be suffocating and I will die. It's like these deep kind of fears. So these are mechanisms which aren't necessarily like you're either 100% this or that, or you're always this or always that, because we're human beings, we're alive. Even if we might have an ABC issue, there might be situations or contexts or people where we feel really comfortable and we don't have those anymore. And there might be the opposite. So I just want to hope that we don't go into the sort of Western model where it's like, oh, you have this issue and there's nothing you can do. And this issue is this little devil sitting on your shoulder. It's going to control you forever. It's like, that's not really how we work. Because our state can affect it a lot. Because a lot of this stuff is chemical as well. It's an addictive chemistry that we have. It's in our nervous system. But those things can change. They can shift depending on a lot of things. So it's not necessarily permanent, but it can be because it sets up weird cycles of chemical addiction, where we become addicted to certain kinds of chemicals, and if we start to stray too far from that, then we will kind of get reactive, or we'll have kind of habits or patterns that will come out that will kind of have to sort of get us back to what's comfortable or safe because it's familiar, because anything outside of that is registered as fear. But then actually what's outside of that, which registers as fear, is actually a bit healthier, is a bit different, but because of our conditioning, it doesn't seem that way, so it becomes really quite confusing and strange, which is why oftentimes it's helpful to approach these kinds of things with the right attitude and with the right just approach. And I really don't think that a lot of the times the Western or even the alternative approach is not really the best, because people don't really have the best attitude because fundamentally the way they're seeing the body, the way they're seeing the human being, what they think life is, just like what we're doing in this video. We've just been talking about, well, what is a relationship? Now we're going to talk about like what is a partner, what is these things. But these people are basically saying like, well, what a person is the same thing, some kind of mechanistic hierarchical meat suit, maybe with energies, electricity in there, maybe with a soul attached, but that's fundamentally what it is. And this is fundamentally some kind of mechanistic, blind deterministic universe, either with God or the Big Bang or spirit, manning the controls. These people are saying the same thing, so their functional, their medicine, their approach is going to be fairly identical and largely it's still going to be useful and helpful. I'm not shooting it down. I'm just sort of nitpicking philosophy and just saying how it's not necessarily could be as potent as it could be. It could be more potent. It could be better, is what I'm trying to say. So now, getting into what is our conditioning around what a man is, what a woman is, and now because personality disorder is so rampant in our world, no one's really sure what these things are anymore. That and how these things show up in the world is even more confusing. And now people think all of these strange things about gender and identity, which I really don't care to get into or comment to because it doesn't really concern me. It's not really interesting to me, but I fully support and respect people's right and option to do whatever the fuck they want to do. So basically I'm going to use the generic options about a hetero-biased relationship with people that identify with the genders that they were born with, meaning I personally have a penis, I have a dick, and I identify and accept that makes me a man. And the examples I'm using is I like women that also but women that have a vagina and breasts and female sexual organs, and they actually look like a female. Then they also identify and behave as if they were a female. So that's just the bias that I'm going to use because that's my bias. Just to get that out there. I don't want to make anyone upset or uncomfortable, but anywho, let's say you're a man, and what you think a woman is how you were trained conditionally and pornographically, perhaps. Oh, a woman is just this hot thing that maybe you can get to have sex with if you play your cards right, if you're cool enough or smart enough or funny enough or make enough money or have a huge enough dick or whatever it is. You might be able to have sex. This woman might grant you access to her vagina. Now I'm using examples of media that I grew up with, and TV shows and programs and characters and movies from my generation and what I grew up with. It's going to be a bit different depending on the generation, but there's that side of it, and then also rap, hip hop music became a lot bigger when I was growing up. So that's also sending images of women ain't shit but hoes and tricks, all this kind of shit like that, and like women are bitches, women are hoes, but also women gave me life and are sacred, beautiful things, but they're also bitches and hoes, and I'm gonna open a champagne bottle and squirt it on her face while she's shaking her ass in a bikini around 20 other women that are doing the same thing because I paid them $100 to do it. All these kinds of things, which I can understand now, the complexity, but when you're like 12 years old and you're seeing imagery, you don't necessarily understand, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. This is a commentary on this, and this is not that. So that's one way that a man could basically really objectify women and be like, look, why does it matter of getting to know you? Why does it matter of seeing you for who you are? Why does it matter of doing all these things? Because I'm just trying to do A, B, and C so I can get access to your vagina and prove how cool I am because I did this to you and did this with you, and whatever. That's one really extreme, really generic example, but is quite common and abundant in media and in society and culture. And a lot of men, unfortunately, kind of, I think, believe that about women, and also believe that about themselves, because the thing is, people, you have to have a really shitty, low view of yourself to treat other people in that way. Basically, to look at another person and be like, oh, well, they're only this. That means that's probably how you see yourself too. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna roll up and say these three things and do this pickup game, and then I'm gonna take this girl back to my hotel and have sex with her, and then I'm gonna kick her out, and that's gonna be the end of it. And I'm gonna do that for 15 years as my life. It's like, well, you have to view yourself in that way. If that's the only depth that you can go to, it means it's probably the only depth that you've really actually achieved within yourself. Not that there's anything wrong with just having random sex with people. It's totally fine if you can actually be upfront and say, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm into, are you interested? Sure, yes, let's do it. No, okay, whatever. So another extreme generic example is what women think men are. Men are idiots, men are stupid, men are just want to have sex, they just want to get their dick wet, they only care about A, B, and C, or men are just sources of financial gain, financial security, financial obligation. Men are here just to validate me, just to support me, or kind of take care of me. And you really wouldn't believe how insanely common that is. Because, like, as much as gender is stereotyped one way, meaning a lot of, feminism and women being objectified and, pointing out and demonizing men for trashing women. Honestly, in my experience, I've heard like a lot more women trashing men than I have men trashing women. But maybe that's just me in my experience because I'm a bit more of like a sensitive, like feeling emotional kind of guy. So most of my friends throughout my life have always been that too. So typically it's, I've just heard that a lot and I've seen it. I've had phases in my life where I'll do lots of online dating. Just that meaning like, oh, I'll meet up just with a lot of people in a short amount of time just to gain a lot of, because I'm approaching it for like, in a lot of different ways. Like, first open, maybe there's a connection there. Maybe we can relate as, people and be present. But 99% of the time, that's not the fucking case. So I'm like, well, I'm here. So I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to really see and understand and like watch the dynamic between me and them and me and how they're viewing this and really take in a lot of other data from the situation. And that's not something I necessarily even have to try to do. It's just what happens. I just take all this information out of it. And I just see that a lot. It's, and I think a lot of it because it's just sort of the cyclical way that this thing goes is like if you're fed shitty programming about who you are, then how you look at other people is just going to often reflect that as well. So it just kind of gets to this programming where, you can see really where maybe why the divorce rate in America is over 50%, and why like modern generations are becoming seemingly less and less interested in monogamy, less and less interested in pair bonding for life, and these types of things. It's because it's just sort of like you lean on something for long enough, it will eventually collapse. If you build a building with a weak foundation, for a little while it's going to be okay, and you'll be like, oh, this is totally functional. But then the higher up you build, the more that weakness is going to eventually collapse. So what I'm saying is our functional societal programming is fucking bullshit. It's garbage. It's based on a thread of an idea of what Christianity is mixed with a thread and an idea of what science is, mostly intertwined with marketing and manipulation to sell products and make people feel insecure and miserable. That's mostly what the thread that we're running is, and that's how people are showing up. And it's really quite strange and fascinating to watch, but also a little bit isolating and depressing, because if you actually do want to connect, and then you can't because you're being objectified all the time, becomes quite difficult when you're like, oh, we're not even in the same space. Like, we're technically in this room, but we're not in this room. It's a really weird thing. So this objectification and this violence or psychological violence for men and women can really go both ways, and it usually does, because it's like with abuse, with say like dealing with a narcissist or dealing with a sociopath or dealing with a codependent. It takes two people to do that. It's just like if you don't like my video, you can just turn it off and do something else. You have that right, you have that option. But if you want to sit here and watch it, you can't get mad at me because I said or did something you didn't like, or you're disappointed by the video. You did all of that yourself. It's like you're disappointed in your appointment of me to be someone that I'm not, but you're mad at me. It's like you did it all to yourself. This is all in you. But that same dynamic shows up in relationships. If you don't like it, you can just leave most of the time. I mean, obviously, if you have kids, you have other commitments and obligations, and yeah, it's a little trickier. But the thing is what I'm trying to, why I'm making this video and why I make a lot of videos is like, look, man, learn from other people's mistakes. Like, be a bit more of a jerk. Be a bit more of an asshole. Be a bit more arrogant. Be a bit more critical and judgmental. Because that can actually make you smarter. So then you can actually be aware of what's happening in the world around you. You can learn from other people's mistakes. You can learn from your own mistakes and hopefully not keep repeating them. And you can show up in, for example, you can show up meet someone, and within a short amount of time, be like, oh, okay, no. Like, rather than taking 3 to 6 years to work out some sort of dynamic, maybe you can work that dynamic out in a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, whatever. And you can see that, oh, this is really what's happening, whatever. Instead of having to stretch it out and layer on all of the fantasy, oh, maybe if we have kids, maybe if we get married, maybe if we just love each other more, maybe if we try harder, maybe if we do this, maybe if we do that, maybe if I had bigger tits, maybe. No, it's just insanity. It's psychotic delusion. It's not real. It's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna create more misery. So maybe don't do that. I don't know. It's an option. It's an option that we have. I guess on that note, one sort of tangent, completely self-indulgent, that I want to make to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about and these the kind of things in like a real way. So I'm a guy. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm a male. I think I did say earlier that I had a penis and I have a beard, and my voice is a little bit deep. Not too deep, but a little bit. So there's all these cues that maybe I'm a man. I'm not sure, but just to be clear, I am choosing to label as that. And I like women, so how this can show up a lot, and then I'm here in this thing talking about things, sharing information, sharing wisdom, insight, nonsense, whatever, and how this can really happen. How I can be really objectified quite easily is people are like, oh, he's these things. He's a healer. He's gonna help me. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that. So basically, it sets up situations where I'm being objectified because the person's not really listening or hearing what I'm trying to say. They don't give a fuck, actually. They put me in a role, or expecting me to only be in the role. And then when I do something outside of it, they're really quite confused, don't know how to relate, and actually don't respond. So it's just like, oh my god, you're so cool, it's so smart, that's so good, wow. And, I can be like, cool, cool, thanks. Glad you liked it, whatever. And then it's like, help me, save me. And when I'm saying this, I could pull up examples. And I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating. I'm literally quoting what people say. Like I'll get non sequitur text messages from people. Make me well. Help me. Hey. I want to tell you about this. Like, well, do you want me to just like bend over for you and just like take it straight? I mean, you just are just like, where do you want to? Do you want to come on my face? Do you want to come on my stomach? Like, I'll just lay here and you can just do whatever you want because you can, because you think I'm this kind of person. You get to do these kinds of things because I'm a man and you're a woman, and somehow it's my duty or obligation to do these things for you. Huh? That's one example. That happens quite a lot. And in my younger days, I used to really take the bait because I really believed in that Kool-Aid. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do this and do that. And then it's just a pretty unhealthy and unfulfilling kind of way of relating. But that happens quite a lot. On the other hand, and there's nothing wrong, I'm not against helping people or giving advice or offering whatever, but it's like, I'm not going to do it in a way where I'm disrespected or I'm being taken advantage of or I'm being drained or objectified in some way or I can't like actually be who I am. It's one way. Another way is like, for example, just recently I met up with someone, a woman, who was like, oh, like I'm stoked to meet you, whatever, like let's meet up, let's have this and that. I'm like, cool. But then they're like, oh wait, but then I like found some of your videos and you're just like way different than what I thought you would be. Like, that's some weird shit to say. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not a one-dimensional boring motherfucker. You assumed because I'm an introvert that I'm just gonna be fucking one way, whatever. Okay, you don't even understand what introvert actually means, because introvert doesn't have any reference to how you show up in the world. This has a lot to do with how you actually get energy and whether or not you really enjoy alone time. It's all that really has to do with. So, okay, step one. But I was like, all right, whatever. Let's just see what happens. And then, 2+ hours of sitting and talking with someone, and they're like, oh, they ask me 2 questions within 2 hours, like begrudgingly, like, and then the entire time I'm just like, man, this person doesn't really care what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking and they're just like, uh-huh. Like, I'm talking and it's like I just farted. They're like, what? Oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, I really liked you. I really had a good time. Like, let's do it again. And I'm just like, I'm confused because it seemed like you didn't really care about anything I said, because I would talk and then you wouldn't respond to anything that I said. You were just like, oh, well, then I did that, like some other shit. Or you only asked me 2 questions in over 2 hours. And even then, it was kind of like just not even really that interested. So I'm like, were you? Did you? I'm not sure. So it's just another example of like people make up strange things about just like a people and then go into them. Another example is like when I used to be into online dating, I would just say really simple, honest things like, I own a business. This is what I do. This is what I like. This is what I'm interested in. This is why I like a woman that's strong, independent, smart, beautiful, funny, whatever. I say these basic things, really simple information. So what happens is everyone's fucking confused. On one hand, it's a lot of kind of granola, new agey chicks that I will completely run over within 5 seconds, or I'll completely offend them as I make fun of so many things. But they just saw, oh, he likes herbalism, he likes tea and like massage and energy stuff. So like he must be like this like granola dude. But I'm like, no, man, I love money. Like, I love nice shit. I like my business. My apartment's clean. Like, I bathe regularly. I make fun of new age bullshit all the time because it's fucking Christianity. Just like really cut it down in 1 second. And I'm just like, okay, I can just see this person thinks that I'm this way, so they're trying to relate to me. But then as soon as I step out of it, they're done. They're confused. Okay, that's one example. Another example is they're like, oh, like, well, you're in the business, you like money, like, you have your life together, you know who you are, you know what you want, you know what you're doing, you know where you're going, you have a solid foundation, you have a solid structure. you're an introvert, you're these things, so you just must be like this fucking like really kind of person. But then I come out with like my kind of personality, which yeah is those things, but it's actually, in case you haven't noticed, kind of sarcastic, kind of weird, kind of crazy, um, really a lot of different things, and then they're completely confused and just done. And then these are just kind of three ways of which things are showing up and what I'm having to deal with, and it's quite interesting um, to illustrate. But I'm also trying to illustrate principles from the everything that I've said so far from these models in my own actual life. And it's just really, it's just an interesting thing to watch and to observe, um, because it's really like, it's like people, want you to, they're like, oh, okay, you're, this is actually a real example from a real relationship. I had a girlfriend once who like wrote me I broke up with her because I'm like, man, this dynamic's just really off. Something's off. They wrote me this like, love letter type situation. Oh, and a lot of it's like, oh, I just love you so much. You're so smart. You're so insightful, and this and this and this, and really going on this theme. But then I'm like, but every time I express my insight about our relationship dynamic, I'm a fucking asshole. I'm a piece of shit. I'm wrong. I'm all of these things. And I'm like, these two things they don't match. And the way I'm delivering the things that I'm saying I'm not making it personal. I'm not saying any like personal attack or there's no emotionality or anger or like agenda attached to it, because I am aware of how sensitive it is. But yet these two things aren't going together. It's like, I am this thing and you like it, but when I am it and I do it, I'm an asshole and you don't like it. That's a little bit confusing. So what I did is I said, well, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because this makes no fucking sense. And it's not respectful to me. It's not respectful for you. Then the other side of that was like me saying, well, I really feel like you have this, like, our relationship, like you're on these train tracks. Our relationship is on this agenda. And you're trying to get us to this certain place and a certain point of this certain image that you have in your head. And this is really what you're trying to do. And I'm like, I'm not really on board with that. Like, I'm not really on board with that type of thing. And they're like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not really what I'm into. That's not true at all. And I'm like, but it is. No, it isn't. It's not at all. Okay. But then coincidentally, their next relationship happens to, within a very short period of time, go exactly to that place that I was saying before. Like, oh, it's just this agenda that you're trying to get this place to, because this is imagery of what you think you want and need to be happy, which is completely fine, completely your right to do if that's what you can do, but you don't even know you're doing it, and you're denying that you're doing it, which is a little bit weird, but I can see it, but we can't talk about it, so that makes our relationship a little bit dysfunctional, because I can see this thing that you want, even though you don't see that you want it. You can't even say that you want it, but I'm just trying to be respectful and say I'm not necessarily interested in doing that, at least not right now anyways. But yet I'm the motherfucking asshole. I'm the fucking selfish piece of shit. I'm fill in the blank. It's like, what? And what? How? How is this? Like, I'm just doing all this for you and for us because I can see that it's going to make us fucking miserable. Because neither of us are going to be happy, but I'm the fucking arrogant asshole. It's just like, I could list another ex-girlfriend who's like, look, I feel like you're trying to push us towards this kind of dynamic where you're playing this role, like you're going to be like this housewife kind of person. You're going to try to do all these things and play this role and be this like kind of caretaker housewife thing. And I'm like, I don't even want that. But also, you don't even want that. Like, nothing about you actually wants that. But yet, you're like, forcing our relationship in this way. No, I'm not. You're an asshole. Why would you fucking say that? I wouldn't do that. How dare you? And I'm just like, okay, like, we gotta break up. And then, of course, in every situation that I'm gonna keep listing, I'm always like crucified. I'm fucking villainized because I'm a selfish piece of shit, even though what I'm doing is for both of our happiness, but whatever. And then what was their next relationship? Could it have been exactly what I was saying that they were trying to do? Could it have been exactly that? Ding, ding, ding. Yes, it was. 100%, if not even more extreme than what I had already seen. And what happened to their health? What happened to their happiness? What happened to their relationship? But I'm a fucking selfish piece of shit. And to this day, I still am. These motherfuckers still don't like me because of the shit that I did, and they still resent me. But I can't mention the resentment. I can't mention those things because it's, again, just me being another asshole, selfish piece of shit. I'm like, okay, I just won't talk to you then, motherfuckers. And that's just two examples. I could keep going, but I won't. But really, what I'm trying to illustrate is basically at a young age, I was abandoned a lot. Like, basically, most of my life has been abandonment and rejection. In case you haven't picked up on that yet, where all these examples is motherfuckers not seeing me for who I am and rejecting the fuck out of me when I actually show up and be who I am. That's my life. It's just like, even with my family, if I actually was showing up talking like this, motherfuckers aren't going to accept it. Are you crazy? I'm just going to be a fucking know-it-all. Oh, wait, that was my childhood. Wait, I remember that actually. I remember those exact words. You're just a know-it-all. You just think you're smarter than everyone else. You just think you're better than everyone else. I'm just like, I'm just being me. I wasn't looking at it in this hierarchical, competitive fashion, but I was just kind of expressing what I thought. But apparently that means that I'm a piece of shit. So I'm just not going to do it now. I guess I'll just sit in my chair and be quiet and be like the rest of these dumb motherfuckers in class and just pretend like what you're saying is actually true and actually real, isn't completely fabricated. But okay, you're right. I'll just sit here and be like, okay, yeah, oh wow, look at you, you're great. Wow, you think theism is an advanced philosophy. Good job, buddy. It's like, wait, but I'm the child, but you're the adult, but I gotta pat you on the head. This is really confusing. So anyways, so basically I learned that if people really know who I am, they won't like me. And that if I really am who I am, then I will get abandoned and or rejected because it is my job, it is my duty, my obligation to be the caretaker for the person that I am in a whatever relationship with. So all those examples, you can see that dynamic. And you can use my bullshit life and my fucked up examples, my travesty of fucking relationships for your own benefit. Because I'm trying to tell you, learn from other people's mistakes. Observe and learn. And in a non-personal way, like, because these things that are happening is not necessarily personal. The things that people, the relationships I gave as examples, it's not personal. I don't dislike those people as people. I don't have anything bad to say about them as people. I think they're great. A lot of amazing qualities, and I feel lucky that I was able to date them because I think they're fucking fantastic. It's just this. A lot of these things aren't personal because shit just happened before we even had a say or choice in the matter. Which is what I'm trying to really, in an extremely long-winded way, to explain. And a lot of it goes back to childhood. A lot of it goes back to our programming that we received then. And for me, it was just, yes, it was that no one really, yes, it was that I was kind of abandoned in some ways. But it's also that like no one really necessarily even showed up. Meaning it's like, okay, sure, I had a pretty good childhood for sure. I mean, my parents loved me, and still, I mean, my parents, they do, they're still alive, we still have the thing, so they love me. I mean, I never wanted for anything, like food, water, shelter, all those basic things was great. But there was also a lot of instability, a lot of chaos, a lot of just fear in there. And then also, they definitely used a lot of fear and guilt to control and manipulate me because I guess somehow that's what you do when you're a kid. But it was like they weren't really seeing me for who I was. It was more so there about, oh, we're going to have kids because we were born in the 1950s and we're going to get married and we're going to have 2.5 kids and 2.5 dogs and a white picket fence and look how happy and fun we are and we're going to do all these things and we're going to do these things and blah, blah, blah. It's just like all about them and their masturbatory idea of what that shit's supposed to be. It had nothing to do with like, well, wait, who are we actually? Who is this person actually? What do we really want to do? And it actually makes any kind of sense. So, yeah, long story short, it's just that no one really even showed up in the first place. And there's that, and then I go to school, fucking dumb ass motherfucking idiot pieces of shit for the vast majority of that. Dumb as a box of rocks teachers, coaches in sports, just fucking moronic, stupid shit all the time. Racism, sexism, discrimination, ignorance, bias, bigotry, prejudice, all of that was for sure the operating system, like the bread and butter of that part of the world, and not even aware of that that's actually the thing. And what I love about it, I love going back home and visiting because I hear people like, man, I couldn't understand what he was saying. Dude had such a thick accent. I'm like, man, Indian people, you're going to be in America, learn to speak English. It's like, dude, that Indian guy probably has a better understanding, a better mastery of English than your dumb fucking ass that's been speaking it for 45 years. It's just, you're so fucking sheltered and ignorant that you can't understand anyone that doesn't sound like a fucking moron just like you, who spews a sentence into a word. Jeep man? Jeep man? What? Jeep man? Huh? You hungry, man? You hungry? Jeep man? What? Did you eat? Question mark. Man? Question mark. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is English? This is the dumbest shit. And I think the best example of it is eating at a Vietnamese restaurant. And on the wall is a huge sign that says, please, no chopstick drumming. And that's to say that these dumb, racist, motherfucking white people go in there and they're like, man, look at these chopsticks, man. Who eats with this shit? So they gotta what? Ooh, play motherfucking drums on the table. It's like, how disrespectful of a culture can you be? Or you see a Japanese person or a Korean person, and you're like, man, I wonder if that person can help me with my taxes. They must be good at math because they're Asian. Maybe they know karate. I mean, literally where I grew up, people thought all Asian people knew karate because there weren't any Asian people. There was one Taiwanese kid at my school for like a little while. I remember everyone being like, oh, what? And then everyone was like, wow, he's really smart. He's really good at math. He's like, well, no, you're just a moron. Like, you're just a stupid fucking American. That's mostly more so what it is. He's just actually closer to being a human being, and you're closer to being whatever is below that. So yeah, and then college, really not much better. Mostly college, again, making my professors angry, making them mad, making people uncomfortable. Because it's like, man, what's he talking about? Because they're in here. I mean, it's just, basically college was such a fucking joke that I went to a sociology class, and I hadn't gone like the whole semester because I was just looking at the textbook. I was like, this is a fucking joke. So I think I rolled up at some point in the semester in the middle of some lecture. I was just like, said some bullshit about how this theory was this and this and that, and how they believed it was going to be this like golden thing that was going to save the world, but it actually isn't, and it wasn't, and how limited that is, and how biased, and blah, 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 blah. I started saying all this shit. Professor's like, it's like, oh, cool. And then afterwards, he talked to me after class and thought I was like a graduate student taking his class. I'm just like, nah, dude, you're just that dumb. Like, your school is just that fucking stupid. You dumbasses are over here arguing over, well, is it black or is it white? It's like, it's both and it's neither. It depends on how you look at it, but you're actually looking at it in a really extremely small way that you want to take a whole fucking semester to explore. And these different philosophers and analysts' ideas of why it's black and these of why it's white and then how it could be. It's just like, do you realize how dumb you are? Like, I'm gonna leave now. But I'm also just gonna get an A in your class and never come. I'm gonna get an A in your class by never coming, but you're gonna give me a C minus because I never came, but somehow I'm stupid and you're smarter. Alright, so that was college. And then the grand total of college was, wait, so I've been going here for a few years. I'm $70,000 in debt. But when I graduate with my esteemed degree, I'm going to be able to make 30 to 35 to maybe 40,000 a year. Yeah, totally. Huh? It's going to take me how many years to pay this back based on the interest rate and how I'm getting screwed by the government and the banks at the same time? Yeah, that's basically it. Wait, so how does that make sense? Well, it's just what you got to do. I'm out. uh, so it's that same patterning showing up in the examples I gave earlier. Make me well, save me, fix me. It's like, will you at least tickle my balls first? Like, can I at least get some foreplay before you stick it in my ass? Like, how about that as a person? Treat me like a human being. So hopefully through all these examples and this rendering, because believe it or not, all these examples and everything I say has a reason, has a meaning, has a purpose. I'm not just saying shit. Because you might be as naive or clueless to think, oh, it's fucking asshole. Like, no, there's an implicit meaning that I'm trying to get people to. I just tend to talk and do in more of a fluid, alive way. Because basically what I'm doing is, let's say I have some core principles here, and I'm just sort of running around them and dancing around them in different ways to try and get the mind and the mental space into certain ways and trigger certain things, maybe. Just depends on how much you can listen and take in, and versus how much you're just like judging me or reacting to what I'm saying, or emotionally getting uptight or offended, or thinking I'm a certain kind of way or not, or going off in your own thing. Because most of those things aren't necessarily called listening. It's just sort of not listening, not learning. So that's a different video. Learning how to learn, learning how to listen. Those are really useful skills to have, quite honestly. But yeah, so I think the last thing I want to say is it's not really personal. It's not really necessarily anyone's fault, in a way, because this is the society and culture that we're brought up in, which is I've been trying to say for a while, is that it's just that our worldview is sociopathic. Our worldview is psychotic. And this is the way we treat ourselves and the way we treat other people. It's just like, I could make a video, why fear is bad, or this video, for example, let's just say, some people will watch it probably and be like, okay, well, I must have this issue. Okay, fuck, I have this fucking issue. Okay, how do I get rid of it? This whole video, he talked for an hour, and he didn't tell me how to get rid of it. He didn't tell me what to do. What an asshole. All this talking and nothing to tell me what I need to do. It's like, well, that's not actually gonna help. Because if I tell you what to do, you're gonna do it from all this shit that you don't even understand or even see, so you're just gonna keep creating more of it, most likely. And what that says about what you think about yourself is actually also not helpful, because it's, again, like, there's just some evil thing attached to you that you have to do something to. It's like, okay, I'm a meat suit. Okay, I'm this motherfucking meat suit, but somehow I'm separate from this meat suit. So tell me how I can make this meat suit do what I think it needs to do so that I can get what I think I need and I want and I deserve, because that's my fucking agenda. It's like I'm going to marry my anxiety with my ambition with a lot of force and coercion, and somehow that's going to make me healthy. It's not how it works, man. That's not how anything in the body works. If you want to eat food, you're not going to be like, give me this fucking food. I'm going to shove it in my mouth, and I'm going to chew it as hard as I can, and I'm going to swallow it so hard, and it's going to make me so nourished. But that's kind of how that's how a lot of health people are. Look at my smoothie. It's got every nutrient in it that you can possibly have. It's going to make me so fucking healthy. It's like, it's not how the body works, dude. Body is not, it's not a machine. It's not how it works, because most of what you're cramming in there, you're just going to shit and piss out. Hopefully. But usually it's just going to clog your lymphatic system or your liver or your kidneys, or get it somehow stuck in your system. But yeah, but what I'm trying to illustrate in these extreme, insane examples is the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat other people, because it's reflecting what we think we are, what we believe we are, of which most of the time we believe we don't even believe anything. We think we don't even, but we do, whether we like it or not, because we don't actually investigate and see, wait, what's actually happening here in this world? What's actually in my life? What am I? What am I actually doing? So that idea of saying like, oh well, I have this thing, it's over here. If I can just get it out, then I'll be better. It's not the right approach, especially when things as delicate as love and intimacy and relationships. And yeah, it's just a really broken way of doing things. It's like saying, oh, you got cancer, we gotta cut it all out. It's just probably gonna grow back within a matter of a time, unless you actually address the underlying ecosystem which created it in the first place. And what's the idea that cancer is bad and evil? Oh, it kills people. Well, does it kill people? Because I've definitely known people that have lived 30 plus years with cancer and they didn't die. Obviously, if you have a fucking tumor in your brain, yeah, it's going to kill you, but that's a bit different than saying, oh, well, cancer is bad, it's evil, because actually, what is cancer? Cancer is a mutation, isn't it? Yeah, it's mutated cells. Well, wait, aren't we mutated cells? Isn't that evolution? Isn't that the adaptation is mutation and adapting to things? Wait, so is that bad or is that evil? I don't know, because my philosophy is so simple-minded that I can only think that it's bad or it's good. I can't actually understand a little bit more of what really the situation is, because I don't actually see life as a living, dynamic thing. I see it as a static, dead, decaying result of something that happened before. And why I say that is because it's really easy with these kinds of modalities and thinking is to be one of these professional martyrs, or professional victims. Like, well, I'm this way because this happened and this happened and this happened, but if I could just do this and this and this, and then maybe this and this and this, and basically you just become a professional lifetime junkie. And this is like kind of the Western approach because it sets you up to be a good, business investment, a good profit. You can just keep pulling money from you for life. And it's also to say that there's nothing wrong with any of these things. Like maybe you have abandonment issues, maybe you have codependence, maybe you have love addiction. Okay, it doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it's a wrong thing. It just kind of means you need to find someone that matches or meets that or that works with. Because this is the other funny part of it, is what's codependent to one person is normal to another. What's because this is what's kind of always why I want to just like sometimes shoot myself in the middle of like college classes, because let's start talking about models like this that I'm referencing in the video, which I've linked below. But it's like, wait, what you're doing right now you think is normal, but to me I think it's fucking stupid, for one. Or this relationship over here, they've been together for 40 years, but I see their habit as codependent, and it meets the criteria for these different kinds of things, but they're healthy and they've attached well and all these things. And they're just like, well, yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, but life isn't alive. Life is the model. No, life is alive. Life isn't the model, but sometimes it can kind of be fit the model or sometimes be described by the model. So what I'm trying to say is it's kind of really relative. For example, you might think you're really tall. You're like, dude, I'm 6'4". I'm fucking tall. I don't know. Go to certain parts of Africa. Go hang out with NBA players. 6'4" ain't shit. You might think you're really short. I'm only 5'2". I don't know. Go to hang out with like pygmies. Go to certain tribes or certain parts of the world, and you're like, holy shit, I'm not that short after all. I'm actually kind of tall. You might think you're a really huge person, but then you go hang out with like kahunas and whatever in Hawaii, then they call you small, and you're like, fuck, I'm not that big after all. So a lot of this kind of depends, doesn't it? So it's a really important thing to understand and consider within all of these things, so you're not just like falling into the psychosis of this ridiculous Western way of thinking. So that's pretty much it. What is a relationship? We covered that. What is a man? What is a woman? Looked at some obviously extreme examples because these are sort of the perverted ideas that show up in the world, which I could say a lot more about, to be honest, but I won't because I'm trying to be minimally self-indulgent in the video. And then I shared some stories from my own life because I watched a video by Brené Brown. She said vulnerability was a good thing. And radical honesty and authenticity and transparency and all these hip adverbs are supposed to be good things, whatever. But mostly, hopefully, you can see some gain information and wisdom, information, insight, knowledge from my examples, my mistakes. But also, I can't. One last thing I want to make fun of is like these fucking dumbasses that want to be like, the world is just a projection of your consciousness. Everything you experience is just an issue you need to work on. And we're all here to heal and heal the darkness with the light. And you might have a critique or an opinion, but it's just a reflection of an issue you need to work on. And it's a reflection of your own consciousness. And the world, the universe is just a mirror. I was like, well, first off, you're an idiot. Second off, you're highly self-absorbed. Because all you're saying is, it's all about me. It's all about me. Everything I experience is all about me. It's all like, well, no. Because you can have an opinion. You can have a reflection. You can have an insight. You can have an experience. Doesn't, necessarily always mean it's A, B, or C. But if they only have you relate to, the only thing, it's basically what all that goes back to is, I'm a piece of shit. I'm nothing. I don't mean anything. So in order for me to feel special, I have to grab onto pseudo-spirituality, which tells me that I'm an aspect of divinity. I'm an aspect of God. I am God in human form. I am an aspect of God in human form, working my way back to being God in God form or some fucking bullshit. No, but yeah, sure, you always were that, you always will be that, you don't actually have to do anything because everything is kind of, that, but no. That's basically the underlying foundation of that kind of mindset, and it is quite common to me that I can think of 5 people off the top of my head that have that kind of philosophy, but also have pretty significant digestive issues, anemia, significant boundary issues, really weak constitutions, yang deficiency, histories of abuse, and like being taken advantage of in their life. All 5 of them, pretty similar dynamic. And I'm thinking like, wait, I wonder if there's a connection between these things. I don't say it because that's an asshole thing to do. It's an asshole thing to talk about that kind of shit. But it's just, I kind of wonder, because it's basically kind of like saying, if I have this cup, right? But I have this cup, but then the bottom, or the top is open so that things can go in there and I can use it. That makes it useful. But what if the bottom is also open? Then this becomes completely useless as a cup. So I throw it away and it gets neglected and eventually just becomes landfill. That's basically that philosophy that I'm making fun of. It's like, oh, I have a vessel, but the top and the bottom's open, and I'm just fucking open to everything. Because it's all one, it's all good. It's like, no, you're just stupid and you have shitty boundaries and you don't know how to actually think and look at things and assess situations and even respect yourself and other people. But at the same time, if this cup was closed at the bottom and the top, it would no longer be a cup. It would be I don't know what it would be. Not anything I necessarily want to use to drink tea out of, so it wouldn't be that valuable. So it's good to have all those things, right? It's good to have that flexibility and openness, but also the structure and the integrity to be able to take in, but also let go. And again, that might seem like a self-indulgent story where I'm just making fun of people, and kind of, yeah. I mean, I do kind of enjoy it. But also, it's extremely relevant to relationships and relating intimately, and also the frameworks and methodologies and principles and concepts and ideas that we've discussed throughout the last hour, but just explained in a different way, because certain ways of explaining things and certain images and certain metaphors and certain ways of whatever will click with different people differently at different times. So I oftentimes will say the same shit in a lot of different ways through a lot of different mediums to drill in the point, and because maybe it's such a foreign concept and also something that can be really important, I have to just keep saying it because it takes time. It takes repetition. You know, you don't get good at something by doing it once. Usually it kind of takes time, repetition over time. But yeah, I'm just a self-indulgent asshole who masquerades on YouTube, basically. Oh no, hold on. It's self-help video. It's self-indulgent, egotistical, narcissistic rants disguised as self-help. That's the quote. And that's a direct quote that I've gotten from a few women on a few different occasions. Because somehow something didn't go in their way, and somehow I'm the villain in there. Which is weird, because somehow you can't, because what they're saying is, if you're enjoying yourself and doing something, then you're not doing it, because you can't, basically what they're saying is suffering is the only way to do things. Unless you're miserable, then you're not doing anything. It's like, you can't enjoy and love what you're doing and do it for those reasons and have it be these other things. It's like, really? Have you ever checked out, I don't know, music or art or like professional sports or like a lot of things where it's like people are loving what they're doing and they're enjoying it, but also like lots of other people are benefiting and like from it? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, I'm the fucking asshole. Okay, whatever. Or it's like, you don't understand what I'm saying or understand how and why I'm trying to say things in a certain way, so you want to attack me because you don't understand. You want to attack me because you feel bad. You want to attack me because you feel insecure. You feel A, B, or C. But yet, in that situation, I'm the asshole. But you're the one attacking me and attacking me personally. But yet, I'm not attacking you personally. I'm not saying anything bad about you on a personal basis. I'm talking about dynamics and things which affect all of us, me, everyone included. From the intention of saying, hopefully we can do this a little bit better. Or not, I don't know. But at least for me, because I'm a selfish piece of shit, I want to do it better. I want to feel happier. I want to feel more able to relate and go in and out of relationships healthily and efficiently and cleanly and respectfully. I want to do all these things. I'm not perfect, not the best at it, but no one is. So what the fuck? It's just like a bit of radical honesty for people who fucking would rather try to, I don't know what the fuck, I don't even fucking understand anymore. But anyways, this video is way too long. I thought it was going to be like 15 minutes. But anyways, thanks for watching. And check out the images that are linked in the box, because it's helpful, probably more helpful than watching this video, to be honest. But also, if you made it this far, leave a comment. That'll be great. I'll feel so validated. All right.